Hello, everybody. It's Mike. Do you live in Atlanta? Well, I will be at the Roll Call Theater with Adam Friedland on November 19th. One night only. We're doing 2 shows at 7 and 10:30 p.m. I will have the ticket link up in my social media bios very soon. But, yeah, if you live in Atlanta, we would love to see you there. That's the Roll Call Theater on November 19th. And then I'll be at Skankfest in Houston on November 5th through 7th. So I hope to see you at one of those shows if you're in the area. And let's start the show, baby. Oh, and don't forget to support the Patreon, okay? I got a baby. And you can see how much money I make on there. It's not, I could, it could that number could be a little higher, I think. If you wanna pull your money out of some other Patreons and give it to mine, we'd certainly appreciate it. And let's start the show. I got to chat with my brother Steve. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to sit down and just talk about current events and what have you with my brother. And yeah, hope you enjoy. You know how, like, the thing with blackface, right, is that we all know what it is. We all know when we can do it. We all know we all kind of like this inherent idea of, like, what is appropriate, you know? That's kind of how I feel about soup. My guest today is Steve Racine, and today's episode, we're talking about how blackface is a lot like soup. No, so Steve, backstage before the show, we were talking about how sometimes when you rank all the soups, people come in with their bullshit, and people go like, "Oh, well, what about ramen? What about pho? What about chili?"
Yeah,
and it's like that because I did that on Twitter one time. I was like talking about soups, and I was like, "These are the best soups," and some guy was like, "What about pho?" And every once in a while, I think of this guy and his stupid face, and I just want him to, like, suffer. I just go like, man, I hate that guy. I hate that guy so much for going, actual, what about pho? Right?
yeah.
Listen, nobody loves pho more than I do.
Right.
I'm the biggest, You're
the biggest pho fan.
I think pho is so So, look, that guy can go fuck his mother is what I'm trying to say.
No, yeah, or the people that come in with like, what about beef stew or chili?
Yeah.
But like chili, I can have a conversation about.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
But it's not in the name, right? Like soup has to be in the name for it to be a soup.
It is funny, though, how we all kind of do have an inherent sense of right and wrong. Not to bring it back to blackface, but, like, if I said to you, like, I'm going for Halloween, I'm going to dress as Bagheera from the Jungle Book, you would be like, all right, but just don't
paint yourself black.
Don't paint your face black.
Yeah.
Even your hands, maybe.
Right.
I don't know if that's like do the cat ears, do the hat, do the nose if you want, the whiskers. But it's like we all kind of understand that like that is like human beings do sort of have an inherent sense of what's right and wrong. I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Religion would have you believe otherwise, but
right.
We do all have a sense of what's right and wrong.
Yeah. But this is something I did want to talk to you about because I did a Bible podcast recently, and I know it's like. Yeah, so this guy has a podcast where you talk about a different Bible story or whatever. You break down a Bible story, and the Bible story that we did was Jonah and the whale.
Okay,
which is like not one of the top Bible stories. It's really not like like a popular Bible story.
No, it just got spectacle. It doesn't really have much else going for it.
Well, it's like the guy gets swallowed by a fish and the fish spits him out. I mean, that's not even really like the story. The story is about him. God's going to destroy an entire city because, Old Testament God acts like a
whiny little bitch.
He acts like a mean gay guy. Yeah. Think of the meanest gay guy that you know, and that's exactly how God acts in the Old Testament. It's like,
Yeah.
you better kill your son. What, do you not love me? Do you think I'm just some fucking asshole? I'm God. Do it. And then he's like, just kidding. Never mind. Yeah, and then John Mulaney had a bit about this in one of his albums, but it's like the whole thing with King Solomon. But you look back at this stuff and you go like, man, I was forced to learn these stories. I was forced to study these stories at like when I was like impressionable, and what a like waste of my time. We have such better stories ever since the Bible came out. We have Sopranos, we have Breaking Bad,
Yes.
we have I don't know, there's just like much better writing, and it's just weird that people still study the Bible as like they still go back to the Bible as a
Well, because it's like the one true text. It's not like the classics, and you have to like point to 20 odd books to read. It's like, hey, here's the answer to everything in this one single book.
Yeah,
like that's the appeal.
Yeah,
that's why. And plus, it's the basis for their whole fucking religion. So
right. Well, so I looked into Samson and Delilah because I never really like understood that story or had any reference to it. I never knew much about it. And it's like, really, I mean, you go on YouTube. First of all, I went on TikTok and looked it up, and there was this one guy who was talking about it. Right.
Where you start with all Bible story stuff.
Yeah. And then I clicked on his bio, and his bio is like, former gay stripper, now messenger of God, which is like so funny that like some Christian kid in like Alabama is like, "Mommy, what's a gay?" And then he's from Alabama, so he like can't read the word stripper, and he's like 13 years old. The school system isn't very good, but he's like, former gay stripper and now child of God, and he's like, he does all these like TikTok videos about like wanting to fuck guys, but he doesn't because God keeps him like strong. But the story.
And so he taught you about Samson and Delilah.
I looked up some YouTube stuff before, and this is an Old Testament story, but it's like the whole story is like Samson is really strong and he's got long hair, and then like Delilah is a Philistine woman, but he falls in love with her, and then she finds out that it's his hair that makes him weak, so she cuts his hair, and then they arrest him. They arrest him, and they like pluck his eyeballs out, and they make him like go like mill grain under the basement of a prison or something. But then his hair gets long again, so then he breaks out of his prison, and then he takes these two pillars of the Philistine temple and like pulls the pillars down, and it collapses.
Nice.
Killing probably like hundreds of people.
Yeah.
Now, what would you say is the moral of that, of the takeaway, the lesson of that story?
Besides dudes rock.
Yeah. That was the first dudes rock story.
No, I think the perception of the lesson of that story is you can't trust women.
Maybe. Yeah.
That's what I took from. That's what I thought the story was about. That like, oh, this stupid bitch cut his hair. Now he's not strong. Like that's just what I took from it.
Right. And women will always try to cut your hair.
They'll try to make you weak.
Yeah.
And they'll always try to cut your hair. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like, okay, so he gets this poor guy gets his eyeballs plucked out, and then he gets strong again, and then he pulls down the pillars of the Philistine church and kills a bunch of people. Yeah. So what is the? I don't know.
Well, I mean, what was he doing with his strength before he lost it? He's like just preening and like picking up.
Apparently, he
like
killed like 100 people with the jawbone of a donkey.
Okay,
he was like,
but
the
was he killing
Hulk.
like these Philistines?
Yeah, yeah.
So then he just got back to what he was doing.
He got back to murdering people.
Yeah, and Delilah never gets hers, right?
She never. I don't think she gets hers.
Yeah, so the moral of the story, based on how you told it, I would say that, women be crazy, and you'll and you just gotta deal.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. What did you take from it?
Well, I don't know. I literally have I couldn't even tell you. This is like an insane. The thoughts of like an insane person.
Yeah.
You know. This is just like the ramblings of our Aunt Pina. Rest in peace. It just sounds like somebody who's got dementia or something.
But yeah. Because even like if it's like a parable for something, I'm not sure what it's for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess I'd have to read the story myself, and if that was their whole game, you know.
So what I got from Google, what somebody said on Google was that the moral of Samson and Delilah is that no matter how far away, it's like you can always come back to God, no matter how far away you get from Him. But it's not like Samson made these choices that put him away from the. It's not like he like joined the mafia or anything. It's not like he,
It's not like he cut his own hair.
It's not like he cut his own hair. I mean, it's like all this was done to him, but then he can go back to being a murderer for the.
So maybe
for the Lord,
a murderer for God in the name of God.
Yeah.
Well, I guess maybe to expound on that, it's like. You may be serving God, and no matter what other people do to you, you still have to get back to serving God.
Yeah.
Because you can't make excuses.
Every time I revisit this stuff, I'm like, oh, maybe there is stuff in the Bible that is like that I'm missing out on. Maybe there's lessons here or some kind of morals or whatever. And maybe because it is very popular,
Yeah.
A lot of people are like really into the Bible. And I watched on YouTube. I've watched a clip of a movie with King Solomon in it, where the two women come to Solomon with the baby, and they go like, "Oh, this is my baby," and then he goes, "Why don't we?" And John Mulaney talked about this, in one of his albums. But But he's like, cut the baby in half, and the soldier in the movie like almost brings his sword down on the baby before the lady's like, "No, wait." Right? And then the lady's like, "No, don't hurt the baby." And then the other woman's like, "Divide it. It should neither be hers nor mine. Like, give me that half a baby. Give me that. Give me the yeah. Give me that. Split that baby right down the middle, and I want it. I'm gonna dress it up in formaldehyde and have it like a taxidermied statue. It's gonna be on display in my apartment. My little conversation piece.
Yeah. It'll be my trophy for how I overcame your bullshit.
Yeah.
How I stood up to you, and I'd rather have half of a dead baby
than
no
here's
baby
the thing.
at all.
I tried to steal a whole baby that was alive, and I got this. And I think it was a pretty good good trade.
Better than nothing.
Yeah. How do you and then I'm looking at the comments, and it's like all these fucking Christians being like, "Wow, such a great story." He was so wise.
I think like the Bible is the ultimate poser kind of thing. Like you just pretend you like it. You're like, "Oh yeah, good story, right?" Like you can't badmouth these stories because they're supposedly from God.
Yeah.
So they all have to just keep telling each other these stories are great.
Yeah.
Even though if you think for yourself,
yeah,
like, wow, God wrote these stories. He fucking sucks.
I guess David and Goliath is like kind of cool because it's like the boy up against the giant, not being afraid.
The underdog wins.
The underdog wins. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so much.
Although
of the
Malcolm
Bible
Gladwell wrote a book like completely taking all the fun out of that story. He's like, well, actually,
of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to like cut him some slack for how much he was against golf. But yeah, that guy's job is to just ruin stuff.
Yeah.
And to take money from corporate interests.
Yeah, it feels that way, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. Well, once he got in the podcast, he got his little podcast company, and he starts taking money from, anyone who'll give it to him. And he likes to pretend he's super.
Hi, I'm Malcolm Gladwell. Today we're talking about how ice cream is actually disgusting. Welcome to this 4-part episode about how ice cream is no good. Wow.
And by eating it, you're perpetuating centuries of slavery and racism. Yeah.
Do you like busting a nut? Well, actually, I'm going to tell you why. See, I thought I enjoyed sexual intercourse, but I actually don't. It's bad. Because, Hitler came from two people having sex. If Hitler's mom just gave that guy a blowjob, If Hitler's mom just let Hitler's dad go down on her, we wouldn't have had Hitler. We wouldn't have had the Holocaust. We're sponsored by Casper Mattress.
Yeah.
Get a good night's sleep on a.
Yeah.
Welcome to part 6 of why getting pussy is no good. I'm Malcolm Gladwell.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of corporate interest, Steve, first of all, I'm trying to, I got a family now, and I'm trying not to be, I'm trying very hard not to be, the angry dad. A lot of stuff has been kind of setting me off lately. Things are, modern life is just full of, all these minor inconveniences that you have to deal with, and
yeah,
I don't know, I've had kind of a short fuse lately, but I'm trying really hard not to be the fucking, dad who, I don't want my kids' memories of me to be, oh yeah, and then dad just started screaming and left the house and didn't come back for 3 days. I don't want to be that. I really don't want to be that guy. I feel like our dad was mad. I mean, he was like mad a lot, but he also, I don't think he was like around that much.
Yeah, there wasn't enough to see.
Yeah.
From him.
Yeah.
I mean, the anger I saw from him, besides it being inflicted upon us.
Yeah.
Was like, when he got upset at like a baseball game when Paul O'Neill wasn't hitting well.
I know, watching the Yankees have a rough game, like, oh
yeah.
no. Are you going to be okay? Yeah, they've never been good. Oh no, they might not win their 8th pennant in a row.
Yeah.
You fucking loser. No, but I don't want to be like a yelling dad. And it's tough when you live in a 2-bedroom apartment, in Brooklyn. It's like there's not really anywhere to go.
Yeah,
a basement where I could scream would be nice. A basement where I could just, like
yeah, a man cave.
Yeah.
Just scream into the void.
Soder has a bit about how, like, when you look at those posters, they're like rules for the man cave. It's all like guys who just want to fuck each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I definitely don't want to be, and I feel like, I don't know, it's almost like inevitable that this is going to happen eventually. That I'm going to be the angry yelly dad. I'm already just
no.
Yeah.
All right. The thing is, first of all, you won't be as angry and like stunted as dad because you're already pretty aware of what sets you off.
Mm-hmm.
And then, through time,
mm-hmm.
I think you'll see like what makes you angry and
mm-hmm.
why, and it'll make you less mad when it actually happens.
Mm-hmm.
And also because that's at the forefront of your minds with what you want for Benjamin,
mm-hmm.
I think, you'll avoid it. It may make you come off as a pussy around him. Like, why didn't dad get angry more?
Yeah, well, I'll be trust me, I'll be plenty angry. I mean, people talk about having a good cry, but like having a good yell, especially when you live in like an urban area, that's a little underrated too. Like sometimes I just like, and I try not to yell that much, but sometimes I'll just be like, "What the fuck?" Like I'll be like, I can't find a pencil. Or like something, or it's like if Deb is like wrong, if we're arguing and she's like wrong, I'll be like, "You always do this," like, 'cause you just gotta like find excuses to kind of like let it out, But I did see something.
Yeah, go on.
I'm just saying I did see something that made me yell pretty loud today because I was on Twitter and I saw that they are doing and I got a lot of thoughts on this, but they're doing a Buzz Lightyear origin story. A Buzz Lightyear origin story. The toy from Toy Story? The fucking thing that's made out of plastic? And the whole point is that he's a toy and he has a identity crisis because he doesn't know if he's a person or a toy. But now does it take place at like a factory in Singapore or something?
No,
I mean, that would be an interesting story.
This is
And Tim Allen's
like,
not in it because they don't like conservatives. Fucking liberal Hollywood won't give a real man's man a job.
He has a job. He's isn't Last Man Standing still on?
I think so.
And that's an ABC company. That's Disney. So
one of the woke
they're
comedians who has
no.
me blocked is a writer for Last Man Standing.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck him.
Of course, yeah.
Him,
huh?
But here's
I like when you imagine a writer's room. It's just all men smoking cigarettes and drinking whiskey, like it was in the 40s.
Yeah, it's the one writer's room left.
You just imagine Carl Reiner getting his dick sucked, drinking a whiskey.
All right. Do you really want to go back to what makes you angry about Lightyear?
No, I want to stay on this because I just
here's the infuriating.
And
thing.
Chris Evans is in it, like, buddy.
All right, but Mike, Buzz Lightyear.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a toy. Apparently, the toy is based on an actual astronaut.
Right.
And that is what the movie's about.
So they're actual astronaut with a green and purple fucking uniform with wings that pop out. And I mean, come on.
Okay, but putting that aside, the thing that sucks is like they're taking the IP an extra step. Mm-hmm. Like it's not just the origin story of one of your favorite characters. Mm-hmm. It's the origin story of the guy who inspired one of your favorite characters.
Right.
Who gives a fuck?
Just make a Buzz Aldrin origin story and end it with him punching that fucking director. It's like he punches the guy. It's like, you're probably wondering how I got here. But what's so annoying is like these movies are made for fucking children. You know, they're made for children.
They're not.
What?
Except they're not. Except they're made for adults. Because the adults are the ones who are like, hey, kids, watch this. I'll watch it with you.
Yeah.
Like, we're all being, like, made to be babies.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. Like, a movie like Free Guy can be really popular because Ryan Reynolds' character in this video game world pulls out a lightsaber. And then he uses Captain America's shield. Yeah. Like, that's the thing.
Oh, is that what that was? Is that what that was?
Yeah, it's like it's in this video game world where anything can happen. So like, oh, I'm gonna level up with Captain America's sword, and the audience wets themselves, and it's like, how fucking dumb do you have to be to like that shit? There's a shield.
I know.
That's
dumb?
What they think. But like, fuck them for thinking like, oh yeah, that'll get people excited.
Because that's my question. Are there people who get excited about this shit? Like, or really? Because
yes, because
there are.
I mean, they're probably like the loudest people on Twitter, but there are people like the general consensus for Free Guy was, oh, it's a fun time. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, it's like, okay, there could have been like funny, parts to it or whatever, but when you tout the big, like, climax of the movie just around, he's using this, he's using this. Do you get that reference? Do you get it? Oh, yeah, I get it. Oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, the downfall was the Avengers. And the last Avengers movie where, like, all the superheroes came back and lined up. And people talk about that moment like it was just, like, this orgasmic pinnacle of cinema. Like, 14 movies built to this moment of all the Avengers coming back together.
Now, was this the one with Thanos in it, the Avengers Endgame? So that it was the last one. Was kind of like that was the last Avengers movie.
Yeah.
But don't some of them die?
Well, that was the thing, that like in the previous movie that like Thanos snaps his fingers and like half the world disappears or some shit. So then it's like this big jack-off moment that like everyone just miraculously comes back to all unify and beat Thanos. And it's like, oh, Captain America's using Thor's hammer, and people like jacking off in the theaters. That's like such a great moment. It's like, just because you've invested years of your life into seeing these movies doesn't automatically make it an awesome moment. It's still just like hacky.
Yeah, I haven't seen a single one since like I think maybe Age of Ultron, and we just watched it when we were in LA, a few years ago.
I can't even differentiate them.
No.
It's like there's a big intergalactic enemy that's kind of a robot and kind of like like alien-esque,
Mm-hmm.
and they defeat it, and then Thanos comes in at some point, and then there's 3 more movies.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just tired.
And then when
of
Martin
it.
Scorsese says, "Oh, it's not real cinema," they have a fucking hissy fit. They
I
like
know.
lose their shit, and it's like, oh, I wonder why that bothers you so much.
Yeah, right. And it's not even like from a highbrow thing of like, oh, fuck your Avengers thing. It's that you are. It's one thing for people to go see these movies. That's fine, whatever. But then to tout them as like cultural touchstones, that's when I'm like, oh, we're just getting so fucking stupid.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely something, and I mean, I know very little about the Marvel universe, but there's definitely something very just kind of rotten about it, you know? There's something
because it's owned by Disney.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't always the case, but Marvel was like, they're still a gigantic company. And when Kevin Feige or Kevin, whatever his name is,
Careful.
when he took
Careful.
over,
Kevin Feige.
I know,
I'm just saying, be careful. Yeah.
He like when he had the idea starting with Iron Man to like just start building this universe. And Disney was like, "Oh yeah, that's what we want," and they snatched them up. It's like it's rotten because there's no soul to any of these movies.
Right.
They all feel the same.
Right.
And they're all shot like they're in a fucking like warehouse. It's all so dark and dingy.
Yeah.
Like that's why I think people liked Guardians so much. Because it was like the closest thing to something different you could get from Marvel. It's like, oh, there's a talking raccoon.
And it's still the same company. Yeah. Right.
It's still the same company.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you get the talking raccoon. Also, it's like, isn't a lot of this stuff just kind of military propaganda? Like, isn't it kind of, you know, it's military propaganda.
Yeah, I mean, ever since the Captain America sequel, where it was all about like Tony Stark talking about like we need to do what's necessary to protect everyone, and Captain America being like, "Oh, we need to be free. That's what America's about." Like as soon as that happened, and it was like it was under the guise of like
so
this,
they kind of like clashed, Tony Stark.
Yeah,
and
they
Captain
clashed,
America
and then they both realized they were both a little wrong, and that they still need to do what's right for the Earth. And it still like ends in just like a shit ton of explosions and all this other stuff.
And they're like, you know what, Tony? Let's send more troops to Afghanistan. That's the conclusion that they come to at the end. Let's send more Puerto Rican 18-year-olds to go kill other types of brown people.
Yeah, and also like you'll never see an evil Chinese character in any of their movies.
Yeah,
because the market over there is too
I know.
big.
Oh, I know. Trust me, I've been keeping a track of all the Marvel villains by race.
No, but that's kind of the first time like kind of capitalism trumped like patriotism in movies. Because for the longest, you know, you had Nazis as like bad guys, but if you had the equivalent of Nazis today, I guarantee you Disney would be like, let's make them something different. Like we don't want to exclude the Nazi market. And I'm not equating Chinese with them, but like when you start making rules about who can't be portrayed as villains, and stuff, like the military-industrial complex would love to have like Chinese people be the villains in these movies. If it were up to them, that would just be their whole sell, or like the Ayatollah or some shit.
Right.
But like then the pushback,
but
like,
the markets in China are way too big to.
Yeah. So then where it does get like kind of fucked up with the military and stuff is like they're like, okay, well we'll talk about these themes instead. So it gets people more on the idea of like, oh, we need to leave the power in the hands of those who wield it. Like it's not as explicit as like some general meeting with James Gunn or the Russo brothers and saying, hey, you gotta show off our military might. It's more just like, hey, can we give you input on this? Yeah. And it's like, you don't have to take directives from these people in order to get what they want. Yeah. But
I rewatched Commando on the plane
Hell yeah.
They're playing back from San Diego, and I didn't watch the whole thing because there were commercial interruptions, and it just kind of drove me crazy after a while, and I
it takes you out of the magic, yeah.
It takes you out of it, but the movie's about Arnold going to some South American country, Valverde or something, to because the leader, the dictator who was ousted, wants to get back in power, so he wants Arnold to kill the new president because Arnold was the one that like, put him in. So the implication is that like, now I don't know if Dan Hidea's character in that movie is supposed to be a communist. I don't think so.
I assumed he was.
Really?
I assumed he was like some like communist dictator, so that he was going to be like authoritarian but also communist, which is why like, because I just put my own like assumptions about the U.S. military. Like, what would Arnold's unit be doing? Oh yeah, they'd be overthrowing a socialist leader.
They absolutely would. Yeah, like somebody who was like, no, I think we should nationalize the mango fields, and they're like, what the fuck did you say? What the fuck did you say? We're sending Arnold in there.
This is a job for Matrix.
Yeah, and his unit. So it's good when his unit gets killed at the beginning, but the implication there is that like this is like a dictator, like a brutal. I mean, my assumption or my like interpretation of it is that this guy's like a brutal right wing dictator, and that the America that exists is one that's like pro democracy and pro human rights.
Yeah,
and that's why we sent Arnold in to like Arnold and Bennett with toothpick arms and chainmail.
Not even toothpick arms; they're flabby.
I know, it's great. It's really great.
That is one of the best casting for villains.
It's
just
really
in any
good.
action movie ever. Like, who is going to be the opposite, the foil to Arnold? Mm-hmm. Some flabby British guy who enunciates well.
I know, and he's like, I know, you're scared of, or he's Australian, right?
Oh, he's Australian. Yeah.
He's like, I'm the only thing standing in between you and Matrix. And he's like just a weirdo. And chainmail.
And his tits are
He's got tits, yeah. Yeah, like,
they're like, hey, Jerry, do you want to get into shape for this role? Do a couple push-ups? No, I'm all right.
Yeah. I think I'll just keep eating this candy. Trust me. But Bennett never really does anything cool in that movie. He never kicks ass or anything, or he never shows off his skill or his might.
No, but I mean, you have to credit Arnold's acting. That you believe he's his like mortal enemy.
Right. Right.
Like the only person who could ever stand up to Arnold Schwarzenegger, who we just spent 5 minutes of close-ups on his oiled muscles.
Yeah. He's carrying a log in the beginning of the movie. He's just carrying a tree over his shoulder.
Oh man, what an amazing movie.
Yeah. But yeah, the implication is that Dan Hidea's character is like a right-wing sort of brutal dictator.
Yeah.
But then it got me thinking like, okay, so you look back at like the 1960s and the CIA and everything, and like what we did after World War II, and it does kind of feel like when you look at that period in history, post World War II, that all of the wrong people kind of got put in charge. All the bad ideas were like had the most power. All of the, we like went to war with Vietnam and we overthrew leaders all over the world. But do you think there was any chance that the United States could have been a force for good, or some type of like benevolent empire where we sent our crack teams into like countries to get the bad guys out? I don't think so, but
yeah, I don't.
It's
think
kind of
so.
fun to think about.
There was no money in it, and
right,
and like in post World War II is interesting because there are people that like,
because that was always my perception of the military, or like the special ops or whatever.
That's what they were doing, yeah. But it's interesting because post World War II, it was like, okay, we just proved that we have the biggest dick in the world. We are going to use that good to make sure nothing like this ever happens again. And that means, like, oh, how do we prove that, like, how do we end the war? By whipping our dick out and dropping an A-bomb. So we're going to operate from a position of might so that this never happens again. And the guys at the top are just like, some of them are just sick with power, and they're like, oh, what, like, capitalism is democracy. We have to, like, save,
right.
We have to stop the spread of communism.
Right.
And, like, all the underlings are like, okay, if you say so, I trust you.
No, it's freedom for GM not to pay any taxes or whatever, or to, like, buy up all the railroads and, you know, yeah. And now, and just create, like, a car hell.
Yeah, it is interesting, though, that, like, it didn't take that many years for us to just throw away, like, the one time we had, I like, in my view of, like, U.S. history, the one time we had, like, good people in charge, we did the New Deal, and then they spent, like, the rest of our history denouncing it and trying to treat it as, like, like, overreach.
Right.
But it's, like, all the stuff that, like, people love about America, like Social Security and Medicare and
all
like,
the stuff that our grandparents, like, benefited from.
Right, yeah. And now they've been brainwashed into believing that all that is terrible socialist garbage. So, yeah, could America ever have been this like crusader of good? Yeah, we could have, because we had the might, but we just didn't, because we're more driven by money.
Yeah.
Than anything.
It seemed like maybe the Soviet Union was sort of a little more pro. Not that they were good or perfect or anything, but it seemed like they were a little more pro human rights, a little more, you know, like pro equality.
Didn't like Lenin kill like over 1 million people, or was that Stalin?
I think Stalin.
Like they're like, nobody's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
But, like, that's what it took for them to enact their agenda. They felt like they had to kill all the dissidents.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, like, a conflicting idea in the first place, that, like, America is this unified front, whereas we've also preached, like, everyone can believe whatever the fuck they want, and you can believe whatever you want.
Yeah.
Then how do you, like, agree on anything?
Yeah. But when you look at American capitalism, it does seem like the result is to get as rich as possible. And then when you look at some of these other systems, it's not that. It's just like, let's get everybody. I don't know.
I mean, there was a point, though, that, like, American capitalism had some, like, restraints on it. And the problem was those restraints were mostly, like, intangible. It was like, you know what? Like, we shouldn't fuck over our workers that badly. Like, there was that sense of
decency. It was more of like a cultural. It was more like ideas.
There's a reason, like, wages and productivity grew together up until a certain point. The 70s.
Yeah.
Milton Friedman, that fuck.
Yeah. It's just like it's like different ideas, but that is a interesting thing, because I think a lot of times we do, you know, like, we'll make fun of, like, QAnon people for believing in these conspiracies where it's like everybody's like fucking kids and eating them, and the world's run by, like, some evil cabal of Democrats, you know. But I think on the left we kind of fall into conspiracy sort of thinking as well. We like to think that, like, there's this cabal of rich people that controls everything, controls the media and the way people think and whatever. But I think sometimes, like, the ideas that are out there are just kind of a product of
groupthink.
of groupthink. But then it's like, you look back at, like, the 60s and civil rights. A lot of people were like, no, there have to be, black people are different from us, and they have to be separated because they're dangerous, or whatever, like. And I don't know if you can you really say that that's a product of, like, capitalism, or was that just the way that people did things kind of just, like, happen that way?
I mean, you could argue it's a fault of capitalism, because if there's like if we just keep defunding the Department of Education and like public schools just become so bad that you only get like certain people becoming teacher. Like no one wants to be. There are those people that are like actual educators and they want to teach and they're willing to not make a lot of money to do that, but the majority of people, they do it because it's just a good option. They don't get into it because they actually want to teach. So you end up with a system of like of disinterested adults who are more interested in like getting kids through as opposed to instilling a desire to learn.
Yeah.
Because like the QAnon people, they do have a curiosity. Like I think we're all naturally curious and like want to understand the world around us. But when it's like so out far scope of understanding that it's easier to believe stuff like Q than it is to like, I don't even know where to start. Like if you were to put me in front of a room of these QAnon people and say like, okay, like where do you start with where you should get your information from or like what's wrong with it's like there's almost this like antipathy to like an authority figure, people that know more than you. I don't know where that like you could argue capitalism is like infringing because there are charter schools and people pushing like, oh, we should get like the private industry to run schools. They could do it more efficiently.
Right.
It's like that's not education.
Right.
So I don't like it's indirectly capitalism, but it's also just like in government they were willing to pillage education for so long while spending millions on missiles and shit. I'm not like that well educated enough to know all of it, but I get the sense that like you have a bunch of people who can't critically think.
Well, and you do. You, like it used to be that nerds were smart, right? But now nerds are like, oh, Black Widow or like whatever, you know.
Well, yeah. Well, they're not book smart, or they're not. Nerds are geeks now.
Yeah.
It's more about being a geek. Geek is like something that like you. It's like a lesser than kind of infatuation with. But yeah, being nerds, it's weird. Like because they keep talking about nerds are cool now. It's like smart people are like demonized in this country, and if you use certain words, you're looked at as like an Ivy Leaguer, a coastal elite.
Yeah.
But I think it's like, do you remember being taught critical thinking in school?
No.
Like, do you remember them at least talking about it?
Critical thinking, that sounds like critical race theory. That's a little close.
Yeah. Well, now that's ruined, yeah. No, but there is this like, I know that like some boomers I've spoken to have talked about how when they were younger in school, they were taught critical thinking, how to think critically, how to like take in information and then seek out other information to disprove or prove it.
Or back it up, yeah.
But now there's like none of it. Now it's just like, hey, here's how you pass a test. And I know that's a simplistic way of looking at it, but we are a nation of like, just, is this black or white? And that's it. There's no thought to context. There's no thought to like seeing like I'm guilty of it too. Like I just assume Republicans are fucking evil. I know it's kind of deeper than that, but to like think, yeah. I keep thinking about that Simpsons bit between the parties of like they go when Stampy goes through the two conventions and the Republicans are like, we hate life, and the Democrats one is like, we hate ourselves, we can't govern.
Yeah.
And how like nothing's changed.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Stuff has changed. There's a Buzz Lightyear movie coming out.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But I do want to talk about, but I want to explore like why that made me so kind of like viscerally upset when I saw that was happening. There's like Chris Evans signs onto the Buzz Lightyear origin story. So Buzz Lightyear, the toy, is based on a real astronaut that lived. But why is this like so upsetting me? I mean, first of all, what I think is like, it's a fucking children's movie. So like, just make a movie about cups or something, like dancing cups, and they'll go see it. They'll make their parents drag them to go see it. I don't know why. And then it just feels like, so obviously this was all like pitched and like greenlit by a studio, right, that just wants to make money, which is like, okay, fine. I guess Disney just wants to make money. But you would just think that at some point there's got to be a change of ideas. There's got to be enough people being like, is this what we wanna? Is this the legacy that we want to leave behind? Is this what we want to do?
Well, the people in charge now don't give a fuck about legacy.
Right.
Like the people that run Disney and Netflix and Hulu and Apple.
Yeah.
They like. I don't even think they like movies.
Right. Because Deb and I put on Mary Poppins a couple days ago, and like we started watching it, and it's like, this is really good. There's a lot of the original Mary Poppins. Like there's a lot of like complex themes here. There's stuff about like there's the conflict between like making money and doing some good in the world, and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, the dad is like this British like banker who kind of just thinks about all he thinks about is money, and he's like a fucking terrible dad. Yeah. And the mother's like out with her, women voting bullshit that she, her little hobby of her. And she's like, why don't you raise your kids, bitch? Get your fucking ass back in the house and raise your damn kids.
Yeah, Mr. Banks,
what are you
stop
doing?
Spending so much time at the bank. Mrs. Banks, get the hell off the picket line. Raise your kids.
Raise your fucking kids. It's not going to happen.
No, but if you watch the new Mary Poppins, like the lesson is less about like
the lesson is about starting your own makeup company and making YouTube tutorials.
No.
It's about at the end of Mary Poppins, the girl invents the iPhone. That's how it ends.
No, the new one like takes all the teeth out of it.
Does it?
Like Michael, the kid, like grows up to be a joyless asshole like his dad. And then he's just reminded by like Mary Poppins and like this world. And it like totally ignores the fact that his dad was like a super capitalist and like just all he cared about was money. And he just needed to go fly a kite. And this one was like, oh, he just has malaise. He's just kind of stuck in a rut.
Yeah. His
like
portfolio hasn't moved in a couple days and he can't get hard.
No, but there is a point you're making with Mary Poppins in that, like, the new one that they made with Lin-Manuel Miranda, which was fucking terrible.
Oh, really?
And he's terrible in it. Like,
is he?
No, I mean, no offense to him, but he's not. He should not be performing anything he hasn't written.
Really? Finish that thought, because I want to talk about In the Heights for a second. But go ahead and finish that thought.
No, the new Mary Poppins was just like, oh, let's fill it with stuff that'll make people be like, oh, remember that from the original? Remember that? Like, oh, there's the parakeet umbrella.
Right.
As opposed to,
you're like, I'm 7 years old. Just entertain me. But what is all this fucking shit?
But also, like, a 7-year-old that sees a new Mary Poppins, like, looks up at their parent enjoying it. Right. What the fuck is this shit?
But all this
like,
fucking
kids aren't stupid.
But all this fucking fan service with like the Many Saints in Newark, where it's like, oh look, and there's Silvio, and there's Carmela. It's like, if somebody was disappointed that there was no Carmela in that movie, suck my fucking dick. Suck my dick. That's what you wanted to see. You wanted to see Paulie. You wanted to see a young Paulie Walnuts, or like you wanted to see the fucking the strippers at the Bada Bing before they, you know, when they were kids or whatever it is. Like, suck my dick. That's not what we're doing here, and that's why I love The Last Jedi. And fuck all the Star Wars fans who were like disappointed that like lightsabers never touched. Go fucking go play with some toys. Go choke on a fucking Lego. make me sick.
I totally agree.
Anyway, I'm glad I got that out.
The pandering. But all right, you want to talk about In the Heights?
Yeah.
What
All right.
about it?
Well,
did you watch it?
Yeah, and I want to say that there is some good in the world because I did watch In the Heights. Now, you live in Washington Heights. Okay,
I do.
You live in the neighborhood where that musical takes place.
They filmed it in the park across the street. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I put that on the plane. I saw the play on Broadway in like 2008.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
Did you see it with him?
I did.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now I watched it.
It was great.
It was kind of a different time. I think maybe I didn't. I mean, I don't know. But so anyway, like,
yeah,
I put this movie on, and imagine a musical. Imagine a musical about Washington Heights, the neighborhood. Like imagine how cheesy that would be. This show is every bit as cheesy. This movie is every bit as cheesy. It's so fucking it's like your brain is like, this is so corny and embarrassed that I'm into this, but your body is like moving the whole time. I mean, it is so cheesy, but it's really so good. Like I found myself rewinding it and rewatching certain songs, and like, it's so fucking corny, like, lights up on Washington Heights, I'll work at the bodega and I gotta wash the windows, and like the part where he's like
cafe con leche. Like, I drink that.
I know, and like I feel like most people from Washington Heights would hate to be represented this way. Like, they'd be like, because he is very much like I mean, he's got to be like a privileged kid and like kind of a gifted kid too, the way he just yeah. You can tell he like believes so strongly in what he's doing. Yeah. But there are parts of that movie where I'm like, this is great. And it's like, the scene that comes to mind for me is when Benny is working at the dispatch. There's like the one main character works at like a cab company. He's the dispatcher.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's like rapping as he's like telling people where he's like, "What's up? We got traffic on the west side." Like, telling like he's like, "Don't take the West Side Highway," and like,
yeah.
I mean, it's so corny. And then like the girl that he's in love comes in. He like gets her to sing a little bit into the microphone at the. I don't know. It's
Well, look.
Maybe I'll be a theater kid in my next life.
You know what? It is kind of a nice existence. Not that I am completely a theater kid, but having a toe in it, you know, it is a way to just live like totally, you know, uninhibited.
But there is kind of a dishonesty to it. There is kind of like well,
all right. It's
like life is not this corny.
Right, but musical theater is not life. So the instant they start singing, like I totally hold it in regard a different way.
But don't you think there's something kind of inauthentic about it?
Well, yeah. I mean, the neighborhood isn't that clean.
No, it's not.
And I mean, there's a shit ton of like racial resentment going on here, because you have like people on Nextdoor complaining about the guys playing Dominican music too loud. It's like, bitch, do you know what neighborhood you're in?
Right.
Or like people being like, "Oh, the guys who play dominoes outside my window are too loud."
Right.
Like, you know,
it's not as romantic as like that neighborhood is not as romantic as it's represented. Not to like denigrate it or anything, but there is a lot more.
No, and no neighborhood in New York is like that. And I'd argue that I kind of like, I find myself saying, I wish people would make more stuff that's like fun and light and like, you know, idealized. But then I get it in something like In the Heights, and I'm like, this isn't real. This isn't like, I can't be happy.
And you can just imagine like a Midwestern, like, you know, theater kid coming to see that show and being like, "Wow, I have to move there." They just get robbed. Because it's not. I mean, I'm not trying to like, you know, like denigrate or anything, but it's just like, I'm not saying it's dangerous, but it's not as like fun. That neighborhood is not as fun as he's kind of making it
No,
out to be.
No, it's not. And I mean, the movie somehow was missing something that I got
also
from the
like
show.
really. I also like in the
Yeah.
beginning where his fridge breaks and he's like, "Oh no, I got cafe but no con leche," and the abuela's like, "Try my mother's recipe: 1 can of condensed milk." Like, that's not a recipe. That's just you using condensed milk.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, do you know, like, that drink is so bad for you?
What
A cafe con leche.
is it?
It's espresso with a cup of milk.
Yeah, I know.
It's not great. I mean, it's sweet, it's tasty.
Yeah.
But like, even with condensed milk, it's even more like sugary. But
I know
anyway.
Dominicans love to drink coffee that's like almost the color of milk.
Yeah.
With like 9 sugars in it. And I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's what they do.
Hey, I've had it a few times. It's good. It's tasty.
Yeah.
But my teeth hurt after.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see your point. Like, for something that is supposed to be so representative of a neighborhood,
Right. There's an inauthenticity to it.
Yeah.
Like try going to your taxi dispatch job and fucking singing and rapping over the loudspeaker. You're gonna get your fucking ass kicked.
But that's,
you know
I mean, by that logic, like, any musical doesn't work. So if you want to see In the Heights, the play,
yeah,
the playwright who wrote the book, she's written some like heavy stuff before.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like, when you're writing when she was talking about making it,
he's like, West End's your best friend if you catch the lights. But it's like, no, dude. If there's traffic, there's gonna be traffic everywhere. There's no getting off the highway and like taking West End Avenue and you'll save time that way. That's not gonna happen. That doesn't happen. If the West Side Highway's fucked up, West End Avenue's fucked up too.
Also, did you hear about how Washington Heights has like the worst case of double parking?
That does not surprise me at
in
all.
the whole city.
That does not surprise me
it's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting to see them like walking around and singing and stuff without like any traffic or like any 181st Street is always just like cars lined up and down the hill. But
you know what drives me fucking crazy is when people will double park and then another person will double park on the opposite side of the street.
Yeah.
Like someone is double parked on the left and someone else is double parked on the right. And you have to like snake around them like it's fucking Donkey Kong. Like, just park on the same side. You fucking that makes me so mad.
Yeah.
I'm like, you deserve poverty. If you're poor, you deserve it. You fucking idiot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there are parts of In the Heights that I really liked. I think it's also we were just coming out of the pandemic.
There's something weird about like the pride, like the pride of your identity being like, this is our block, this is our neighborhood. Like, I don't know if most people who live there think that way. I don't know if they're all like proud to be,
No, some of them are. Like I've like canvassing with people. You meet some of them.
Yeah.
But also at the same, like, everyone is just like trying to get through the day their own way.
Yeah.
Like the community is being like kind of gutted by Columbia.
Sure. And probably gentrification too and everything. Like,
yeah, well, New York Presbyterian, they bought up this whole block with like Gristedes. I mean, fuck Gristedes, they're terrible. I'm glad they went away.
Oh, really?
But also,
and the guy who owns it is maybe the ugliest man I've ever seen in my entire life.
Really?
Oh yeah, you don't know John Catsimatidis?
No,
wait, so
I mean,
Google?
I know he price gouges like crazy.
It's crazy. And
like,
I heard him on NPR one time, and he was like, he got called out on his price gouging, and he like got really defensive. But Google image search him. He is the ugliest guy that ever fucking lived.
Wait, what's his name?
John Catsimatidis. He ran for mayor of New York.
Oh, he comes right up. Hold on. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my
fucking
God. Ugh.
Fucking Greek tragedy. And then Google so Google John Catsimatidis with daughter.
Oh no, it's one of the second pictures that comes up.
Actually, his daughter's kind of.
She looks like she reminds me of Erica Jane from Real Housewives.
Dude, his daughter is a wreck. Look at her. She looks just like him.
Folks, if you're listening, I hope you're Googling along.
If you're driving right now, pull your car over, pull out your smartphone, and Google image these people. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ.
God, what an ugly bastard.
No, but his daughter, too. She looks like Laura Loomer. Actually, this picture right here, she looks pretty good.
Well, yeah.
She's got a nice rack.
But, anyway, so there was a whole block of, like, stores. With,
dude, it looks like someone photoshopped his face on like, a hot girl's body. Why is he so fucking... It doesn't make sense that he's so fucking... I mean, there's a ton of, like, unattractive people. Not everybody can be, you know... We can't all be Ryan Gosling.
No, but we all...
What's this guy's... Bo Dietl's coming up, too, for some reason.
Oh, why?
I don't know.
Wait, just unrelated.
Yeah.
For ugliest motherfucker. Seriously.
That's who's at Rayo's tonight. Bo Dietl and fucking... Bo Dietl, Curtis Lewa, and John Katzimatidis' daughter.
Wait, so can you tell me about Rayo's? Like, what is the big deal with that place?
It's just like an exclusive restaurant, I guess, that, I don't know.
Only caters to New York Post royalty.
Yeah, exactly. Only caters to New York Post royalty. And I guess it's like mob run, even though like who cares about the mob anymore? And I think back in like 2004, some lady was there and she was like, she was singing. Some actress was there, and she like they like asked her to get up and sing, so she sang, and then this like mob guy was like heckling her, and this other mob guy shot him. Shot the guy who was heckling. He shot him dead.
Hey, anyone says New York is dead?
Yeah. Well, this was a long.
Tell them that story.
This was a long time ago. It's definitely dead. Now it's a sweet green.
It's mob run, and this is the
it's
same
like
Rouse
mob...
that has like cans of tomato sauce.
Rayo's, yeah. It's
Rayo's?
like it's like mob connected, I guess. I don't know. There's like TikToks about it. I should have. I wish I was more prepared to talk about it. But yeah, it's like a really exclusive restaurant. You have to like know somebody.
Maybe we'll
or
talk
be
about
a
that
celebrity to get in. Rayo's.
Because I know it mostly as the pasta sauce brand and not.
No, it's
as
a restaurant. It's in Harlem.
In Harlem, okay.
Yeah. It's like red on the outside. It's in East Harlem.
Oh, hey,
I can't imagine the food is like that good though. No, here they got like orchidea with fucking sausage and broccoli rabe. I mean, it's like it doesn't look like it's anything spectacular. The food.
Yeah.
Maybe Colin could get me a table there. I don't know. I feel weird asking him for stuff. Hey, can I hold $100?
Hey, I wanted to while we were talking about the New York Post, I wanted to talk about how their coverage of the Alec Baldwin thing is like it's so. I mean, it's like it's fucked up. It's the whole situation, but they're really like hammering this woman who was the head armorer of the thing, and they're like, oh, this girl, she like barely knew what she was doing.
Yeah.
She didn't know that, and like to be fair, like she sounds like a terrible person anyway. But
it's also funny to see all these conservatives be like, be like, that's why you never point a gun at someone. It's like, man, to talk about like, I mean, I feel bad for Alec Baldwin because you think about all the ways that you can like own yourself. You know, being like anti-gun and then you shoot somebody with a gun by accident.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah, I never thought I'd feel sorry for that guy.
Yeah.
But I feel sorry for him.
I feel sorry for
him.
him.
You're just handed a prop gun and you end up killing somebody. Like Alec Baldwin, the actor, I feel bad for. But he's also a producer on that movie. And the producers allowed some really unsafe shit happening on that set.
But like, you got to think like, and we'll talk about this and then we'll wrap up. But like, how does that even happen? Where you have a prop gun and there's live bullets in it. I mean, were they? Because I heard that crew was using it to like go shooting. They were like shooting cans with it. Like, where did they get bullets from? It just doesn't seem like. It just doesn't make any sense. And from what I understand, he like reached into the holster and like pulled, drew the gun and pointed it towards the camera.
So what he was doing was they were going over the shot of like the camera shot, and like he was showing them how he was gonna pull it out of his holster. So as he pulled it out, it went off.
Yeah, which is like every Western has somebody like shooting towards the camera.
Yeah. But also, there's not live ammo in there. And the question of, like, why is there even live ammo in the first place? There's a lot of really interesting stuff.
He should have made a Western about, like, cross-dressing burlesque players, people, and, like, said that it was a Western. It's just, like, him in a dress the whole time. Like, no, it's a Western. It's just a new kind of Western.
Yeah. No, the whole situation's fucked. I mean, the person who was in charge of the guns hadn't held that job previously before.
And then I heard that like they didn't have a union prop master on set because a lot of the crew walked up. I heard that like a gun went off on set like 3 times and people were like,
Twice.
"This is unsafe." Like what, with a fucking bullet in it? With a bullet in it?
No, so in the 2 prior instances of
But she got hit with a bullet, right?
I don't think it was. I think it was just like
a blank.
Yeah, it was like the casing, like the gun exploded. It wasn't just like a shot. And like I think they referred there was a sheriff conference earlier today.
I mean,
they
it's
referred
such a
to
freak accident, right?
Yeah, because so here's the crazy thing. I was talking to one of my friends who's a prop master, and he was saying that it's amazing that this doesn't happen more often. Like the amount of times guns go off on like, especially on these low budget movies where producers are like cutting corners on non-union workers and shit. Like,
right.
Like there's just like this lack of safety, and it's all under the guise of like we need something that's real, we need something like fast, and he was like, the fact that it's only happened like 3 times is pretty amazing.
Yeah,
but again, like this armorer was walking around set with like 2 guns holstered under her arms that were just pointing at whoever was walking behind her.
Really,
like. Just the kind of
wasn't
shit.
she like 24 or something?
Yeah, and her dad's a famous
prop
armorer.
master. Really?
Yeah, I mean, a prop master for guns, the armorer. But her first gig was with like, or her most recent gig before this one was with Nicolas Cage, and apparently he like she like fired off a gun right near him without announcement, and he flipped out on her and stormed off set.
Really?
But yeah, there is like right now there's going to be so much covering of ass right now and like whose fault it is.
Yeah.
Cuz the first assistant director is in charge of safety. Like it ultimately falls to him or her or them to
so that prop master is under his like command. She's subordinate.
Yeah. But also like she should have been doing her job correctly. They shouldn't have had like guns with live ammunition at all, but they definitely shouldn't have had them out on a prop table nearby.
But why? Yeah, why did they do? How were there bullets in the gun? How did bullets get in the gun?
Like you have to like read the specifics for this, but in some cases on these indie sets, you have people with live ammunition because they're recording the sound of it.
Okay.
So they may be recording Foley sounds.
Okay.
They may just be like firing to see what it looks like on camera, so then that they can try to replicate it with blank ammunition.
Okay.
But it's all stupid. Like you can do that digitally.
Yeah.
You don't even have to do it. Like what's the fact that someone
you don't even have to make movies with
set,
guns in them.
That's where you lose me.
Yeah.
But I love that people are trying to make that argument.
Just make peaceful movies.
Yeah. Just replace. It reminds me of that
Make
Derek
movies
comedy
about
sketch.
Bible story. Yeah.
Remember that Derek comedy sketch where all the guns make weird sound effects?
No. Who's Derek Comedy? That's Donald Glover.
Yeah, wasn't that Derek comedy?
I think so.
Glover and DC Pearson and.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I just killed the momentum.
That's all right. I think we're done anyway. I think we're done here. Let's let this episode just kind of fizzle out.
Yeah, that's the best way to end all podcasts.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, you got it.
I got to make dinner. You want to plug anything?
I don't have anything to plug yet, but no, just thanks for having me.
Yeah, you got it. Guys, I'll be in Atlanta November 19th with Adam Friedland at the Roll Call Theater. I'll also be at Skankfest in Houston in a couple weeks, November 5th through the 7th. So if you're there, please come and say hi. And like I said, Atlanta. The ticket link will be in my bio very soon. Roll Call Theater in Atlanta. And then I got some stuff coming up in Detroit in December 10th and 11th. Ooh. And Boston, December... Sorry, wait a minute. No, yeah. Okay, Detroit, December 10th, 11th. Then Boston the week after that, from the 15th to the 18th. I'll be headlining a show up there and then doing some shows with Dan Soder. So come out if you're in any of those cities. I want to thank our guest again, Steve Racine, for being here. Thanks for being available last minute. You know, I don't like booking the podcast, so
hey,
I'm glad that you're always around.
I'm always here.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it, Mike.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right. See you, Mike.
All right. See ya. You too. Bye-bye.